Kamusta guys? Back in action tayo. Alright. Harry in the house. Harry in the house. Mapakuha yung isang phone ko na Samsung, yung Fold. Ma, pahingi nga ng tad mga ti Fold 6 nga Samsung. Yung may isang nga gray. Awan dito eh. Jay, Ijay, table. Please. Awan. Yung Samsung nga gray. Gray tikula yung fold. Well. Awan ni Jay. Na, may isang nga gray. Ay, dito eh. Jay, green bag. Dito eh. Awan. Dito yung nga green bag. Well. Awan ni Jay. Yes. Ano? Kas ano nga eh? Na, subliak ka. Okay naman. Eto, dito. Eto. Hindi, dala dito. Awan dito. Ayan, okay, guys. Mahalaga yan. Sensya na. Ayan na, yung mga solid north. Nagpakita na yung mga solid north. Okay. Bayam na kita eh. Kita nga. Ay, apo. Okay. Mabali nun. Alright. Sige. Okay, mabali. Let's go. Buya ka siya. Uy, sira pa itong chair ko. Buya ka siya. Yan. Hola. ¿Cómo estás? Yun. Let's get the ball rolling. Whew. Hello. Sound check. Hello. Sound check. Booyakasha. Welcome back. Check natin. Sound check. 1, 2, 3. Booyakasha. Yan, malas. Okay. Welcome back everyone dito sa latest episode ng Deep Dive, live back from Southern and Northern Europe. Ayan, kasama natin na mga kasama naman. Balik na naman tayo sa Subtropics, Pilipinas. Yan, welcome back to ourselves. At salamat dun sa mga kaibigan natin from airplane to mall, lahat ng mga kaibigan natin, mga kameta natin from all around the world. Balita sa atin ng isang kameta natin, kasabay yata natin si Ma'am Delima sa aeroplano kanina, flying via Dubai. Ayan, hindi ko na ano. But speaking of Dubai, yan, hindi sa Dubai si Harry Roque spotted live kahapon doon sa supposedly malawakan na birthday ni Tatay Digong. Pag-usapan natin yan dyan, guys. And of course, pag-usapan natin what are the paths ahead for the country. We have to wrap up this week. It was a crazy week or two. Marami tayong pag-usapan. But I'll try to keep it as safe as possible, guys. Narinig niyo ako? Dapat clear ako Ano sinasabi ni Fox? Echo Fox. Fake news kaya yata eh. Yan, okay. Anyway. From Scotland. Cindy. Narinig niyo ako? Yan. Si Rizani. Kamusta Ma'am Rizani? Yan, mga followers natin, the best natin. Kamusta naman followers natin from Davao? Beautiful Davao. Davao, yan. Speaking of, high Human Development Index ng Davao, kinorek ko yan, guys. Tinignan natin ang latest, diba? Sabi ko, gawa tayo ng isang contest, parang different places, tapos HDI, 8.7, HDI, mga ganun, 9.4, yung mga ganun. Ito lang. Hindi pala na-connect. Wait. Yamat. Okay. Hindi pala na-on to eh. Wait lang. Okay. Sinat. Tanggalin ko nga. Ano, ngayon, narinig niyo ako? 1, 2, 3, sound check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, sound check. Okay. Ulitin natin sayang yung ano natin. Sayang yung budget natin. Wait lang. Wait. Ba't kaya ayaw ng audio? Okay, ulitin natin guys. One more try. One more time. One more time. Harry spotted. Harry spotted. Harry. Bakit kaya? Diba? Dapat okay to Guys, wait lang Ayusin natin to. Dapat usually malakas to Oh, mali na. Hindi, ito kasi ginagamit ko ito guys para mas malakas. Weirdly, parang baliktad pa nangyari. Harry spotted. Harry spotted in Hague. Yan. What next for DDS? Yun. Buyaka siya. Okay. Anong pakialam ko kay Harry? Anong pakialam niya sa atin? Bakit para siya nakikialam? Ako pa yung pinapagalitan nyo? Walang ya. Tanggalin lang natin yung isa para hindi magkakagulo ang buhay natin. Nilagay ko pa naman yan. Sayang. Harry. Hindi natin take 2 tayo. Take 2. Okay. Good to go. Let's go. Cool go. Pero ba't kaya ayaw nung ano ko? Itong isa ko. Usually nag-on yun pag pinipress ko yan. Ayan. Dapat malakas siya Hindi kasi kailangan natin guys para medyo podcast level yung sound. What I'm wondering is, bakit parang mahina yung volume? Okay. Sound check natin ulit Sound input. Okay. Hello. Yan, dapat maganda yan. Okay guys. Let's go back to business. Alright, ito. Okay. It's good. Hello. Good morning. Yan. Good morning. Narinig niyo ako? Am I clear? Ayusin natin dyan, guys. Gusto natin maayos ang podcast leveling style natin, of course. As the leading political podcast in the country, the greatest of all. Pero joking aside, guys, talagang gusto natin mangyari dito talaga. The best sana talaga mangyari sa ating bansa. So, dapat the best yun yung sound system natin. So, I'm just trying to make sure na yun lang naman talaga yung laban ng iba Production nila medyo mataas. Tayo medyo low budget na medyo Ilocano. Ayan, sige, ayusin ko lang to. Ito, narinig na ako. Live, 1, 2, 3, sound check, 1, 2, 3. Ayan. Okay. Ayan na yung mga trolls. That's good. Tataas ang engagement natin. Thank you so much sa mga trolls. Yan, ban na kagad yung isa. Okay na, good na tayo. Good evening. Good evening. Alam ko marami nagsabi parang pang Tintin daw yung hair natin. Speaking of Tintin, nasa Belgium lang tayo kanina. Parang kanina lang nasa Belgium tayo. Nakabili tuloy ako ng isang memorabilia from Tintin. Alam niyo yung character ni Tintin, yung ganyan yung hair niya na ganyan yung parang detective ba yan? Tapos parang may Picasso siya na white dog na cute. Yun, so, pero ito, ang tingin ko mas Elvis Presley. Good morning. Okay, it looks like okay na yung ano natin. It looks like our contact, our audio is good, and 20 years of my journalism, hindi tayo nagkaroon ng ganyan problema. Ayan na yung isang troll. Iyak na naman yung mga troll na yan. Okay, yan. Buyaka siya. Yun, tanggal yung troll. Kawawa naman, di na naman siya kikita ng pang weekend inuman nila. Okay, let's get back to business, guys. Unang-una, let me say what a crazy week or two it has been. Nakita naman for first time in history, hey Darian beats Kardashian doon sa analytics. Ibang klase, nadamay pa si Hayden ko. Inisip ko nga nadamay pa si Hayden ko dahil hi Darian, Hayden, baka nadamay ganun. But very proud that we were able to beat Kardashian. That was a tough that was a tough competition, but alam mo naman tayo guys, we never give up. At Good morning at tayo naman, we want to do our best for our country to get the message across, the message out. It was really a crazy week or two, and I want to summarize it and get back to it because I'm sure some of you may not have followed some of our very good stuff that actually are not by me. Isa dyan yung na live stream po natin. Hopefully, I'll get the 4K version out as soon as I have time. Ng lecture ni Attorney Christina Conti dun sa dynamics, logistics, circumstances, and repercussions ng, of course, itong mahalagang international criminal court case. We also had the privilege, and of course, it was really wrenching, privilege of having conversation with at least one of the EJK victims' family. This is something real. This is something very painful for a lot of people. Nagpapasalamat din tayo for the opportunity, of course, to meet a lot of our good friends. I mean, nagpack totally yung schedule natin in Belgium kanina, people from European Parliament, folks from the European Commission, folks from the European ASEAN Business Council, folks from the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, people from different parts of the whole European Union policy elite circles. So within 3 days or 2.5 days, guys, we were able to have really comprehensive discussion at tuwan-tuwa tayo. And for some of you may have seen it actually kanina on the way back dun sa Brussels airport. We had a chance also to join itong isa sa mga paborito natin programa. And of course, with our new kapatid na si Ma'am Ces Drilon, right? Dun sa big picture, the big picture, right? Was it big? I'm sorry. The big story. Sorry, big picture pa lang sa akin. Big story, the big story kung saan pinag-usapan natin yung pagbisita ni Pete Accent. Mamaya sasabihin tayo, mga hirap na. Marami tayong mga MAGA supporters. Ayaw natin mawala yung mga MAGA supporters na yan. Lalong-lalo na nagalit ng China sa atin. No, but speaking of that, sabi ko, what a crazy month it has been. Half comically and half serious. I posted kanina also yung isang short interaction natin. I won't, try to read too much into it, pero parang nila-live tayo ng mga kasama natin from the Duterte supporter side. But as you can see, I'm more than happy to have a group hug and at the same time to reach out and be as civil and polite and of course, sincerely open to conversation as possible. Medyo mainit-init of course yung emotions. Andun tayo sa detention center. I can understand the frustration of some people. I understand that there's a lot of misunderstanding. I can understand that baka iba sa mga ating mga kababayan ay nadadala sa mga misinformation and character assassination laban sa atin. Not only over the past week or month, but over the past decade. Basically, since 2015, kina-character assassinate na po tayo ng mga walang yung mga propagandists, mga troll farms, among others. Pero tuloy-tuloy lang po yung laban natin. At isang dahilan po dyan is yung inyong pagmamahal. But anyway, on a joking side, ito yung sinasabi natin guys. So, wow, this is makasaysayan. we were able to beat, diba? Natalo pa natin ng Kardashians, right? So that's how crazy it is. Now, obviously, we know that part of that was because of the brouhaha, the troll farm created misinformation and also disinformation rather, and also some misinformation. But I'm glad that we were actually able to hold that level of interest in Google Analytics among others. I can see that in like 20,000-30,000 new subscribers we got over the past few weeks. Obviously, ito yung mga tao actually na curious. May nagsabi pa sa akin na Batisa, I don't know, was it on Wikipedia or somewhere like that? Isa sa mga most visited pages na po tayo of quote-unquote personalities, etc., or journalists out there. Huge level of interest. I think maraming tao, unfortunately, nadala first dun sa misinformation and disinformation. But I think a lot of people are also curious, like, who the heck is this guy? Or I may have heard about him before, or maybe I saw him on TV before, but let me get to know more about. Speaking of which, kind of weird kanina sa Emirates, dahil may sale sila, Ilocana naman, I was checking something, and then sabi nung stewardess biglang, you look familiar. Sabi ko, baka naman nakita niya yun. Pero hindi naman siya Pilipino at hindi rin naman siyang So I was wondering, like, saan kaya ako nakita nito? Like, so I was like curious, like, sabi niya, are you regular with us on the route to Milan or Italy or something? So siguro akala niya I was, Italian or something like that. No, I said, I'm from the Philippines. Oh, okay. But anyway, biglang conscious na ako, biglang pag you look familiar, parang I don't know, like, sasagutin ko ba ito or hindi. But that was an interesting interaction we had. And of course, thank you so much also dun sa mga kaibigan natin na whether sa aeroplano, sa airport, among others, nag-reach out, mga supporters natin, including mga supporters natin from different parts of the country, including from Cagayan de Oro, from Davao, from Mindanao, from Visayan region, not only dito sa Luzon region, among others. At of course, marami din tayong mga kaibigan, mga kapsat na nag-message sa atin, di naman, di wala na, Ilocano na yung mga messages sa akin, di ba? Bayam na kitang kastay-kastay. Anyway, wag na tayo pupunta dyan. Anyways, guys, so, first of all, that's what you do. You jiu-jitsu it, right? They try to character assassinate us. They try to bring us down. They try to intimidate us into silence. But what we did is lumaban tayo, and we try to turn it around into our favor. So when many people actually bother to Google about us, to look at our, I don't know, Wikipedia page, look at my publications, etc., na-realize nila, wait, mukhang may sense itong taong to. And the next thing you know, hindi lang sila nanonood sa ating YouTube. Our Facebook, we have 70 million views on our Facebook. It may not be as big as some of the troll farm backed accounts there, but who cares? But I think 70 million views in a span of 2 or 3 weeks is a pretty decent number for anyone who's doing actually quality and critical thinking based content. So proud na proud tayo dyan. And of course, there was a huge 20 to 30,000 jump in our subscribers numbers sa YouTube. So tuwan-tuwa naman tayo dyan. So thank you. I think that's it. You jiu-jitsu it. When people try to intimidate you, they try to character assassinate you, they want to drive you into silence. Ang dapat gagawin mo, guys, is you embrace the moment. It's like a wave, a tidal wave coming. Ang gagawin mo dyan is, I love this. There's this metaphor, or actually there's this simile rather, right? That Marcus Aurelius used sa meditations. Sabi niya, be like that, parang be like that, what was the term? Parang be like that strong pointed rock or jutting rock against which even the strongest wave are reduced into a foam of water or something like that. Ang ganda nung ang ganda nung ginamit niyang parang figurative language. I was very impressed by that line. Sometimes when the wave is gonna come for you, you are gonna be like that strong, right, jagged, jutted out, rock, and let the wave hit you, and then eventually that wave is gonna dissipate, and it's gonna be just an ocean foam, right? So you have to be that rock. It's extremely important that you'll be that rock. And that line always stood by me, and parating nasa puso ko. Every time I feel like something very challenging is coming, and all, sabi ko, let's be that rock. Let this wave come. Let's not try to escape it, right? Except dahil may pagka Latino makulit din tayo, hindi lang tayo hindi lang tayo we're not just trying to be that kind of a tough rock that reduces waves into sea foam, but we try to also dance with it. We all try to also surf with it. Kaya medyo makulit-kulit din tayo. I think having a sense of humor is very important. I think the fact that we were able to sakyan natin yung humor, makikisakay tayo sa humor, at saka show goodwill, I think is very, very important. Nakita ko na, actually, I don't know what was the attempt, but parang may mga kaibigan pa tayo dyan na who were trying to, I don't know, they were trying to portray us in a certain way, but sabi ko, well, people can see it themselves. I was more than happy to group hug. Ito, nil-livestream tayo the other day. I think na what I did is actually I just reach out. Nakita ko yung mga kaibigan natin. Sabi ko, we may have disagreements, we may have different points of view. But what I did is actually I went there and extended the olive branch and shook hands with them and all. And yung iba naman, they were even kind enough to, nag-group hug talaga literally. And yung iba naman, of course, nagpag-greeting and all of that. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I hope people see that we're sincere and more than happy to reach out to people. So that's what I'm saying. When the waves are gonna come, you have to be like that kind of a jagged, jutted, like rock against which even the strongest wave will be reduced to a foam, sea foam, right? Yun ang talagang kailangan natin, guys. But sometimes also, mahalaga, guys, you should ride it. You should ride the wave. You should cruise with it. You could surf with it. Sakyan mo. Enjoyin mo yan. Because otherwise, guys, if all of us are gonna just be easily intimidated, kung na-troll lang tayo and then nag-give up na tayo, kung na-troll lang tayo, ayoko na, magpalit na tayo ng trabaho, ganun. I mean, if you can't take hit in the kitchen, then maybe wala kang, you have no business being there to begin with, right? Ganun lang parati kong sinasabi. So, maybe some of our friends were kind of new to this business. They're more than happy now to file libel cases, whatever. But what I'm saying is that in our case, isang dekada na po tayo binubuli ng ganyan, right? And, well, I don't know if you can really bully people like me. but anyway, it was an act of intimidation and bullying and all. But as I said, we are more than happy to fight back, and we're more than happy to fight back in the best way possible with a combination, guys, with a combination of humor, right? But also goodwill, right? Mahalaga talaga, guys, na you have talaga this honest, really goodwill and all. Because at the end of the day, if in your hearts and heart, um, you know that you're doing the right thing, guys. Kung klaro talaga ang konsensya mo, and you know that you are on the right path. Yeah, it doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean that everything you said is right. It doesn't mean that every occasion you got it. Pero kung alam mo talaga sa puso mo, tama talaga yung ginagawa mo, nasa tamang daan ka, right? And of course, in many ways, we feel completely vindicated right now. Believe me, guys, you're actually gonna welcome even this kind of challenges. You're gonna welcome more waves coming, right? But then again, of course, binisita natin yung bahay ni Dr. Jose Rizal the other day. Thank you, shout out again sa kaibigan natin sa Philippine Embassy, who greeted us very well, very warmly, very interesting discussions. And I was asking about Rizal and all, and I was told na dapat bisitahin ko. Hindi ko kasi naabutan si Ambeth Ocampo, yung kaibigan natin na Uber historian. But so I visited yung place kung saan si Rizal ay was able, I think, to finish his El Filibusterismo. I have to double check that with Ambeth. But very humble, nice place near the major architectural and religious site, at least back in the day, in Brussels. Beautiful place. And what I loved about visiting Rizal's place was that actually, minsan maganda rin na you are in a quiet place. You're in a quiet place, you're somehow in isolation, you have time to walk around and go around, because it gives you that kind of focus to write, right? And write great work, great work. In the case of Rizal, of course, he was able to write his fantastic work, El Filibusterismo, which is my favorite, one of my favorite novels. And to be honest, for me, I think is his best work. By far. In terms of sophistication of his political theory, in terms of the plot, in terms of the darkness, in terms of combination of different genres, surrealism, a little bit of late 19th century literary traditions, a little bit of anarchism. So there's also that kind of a cutting edge ideological aspect to it. Ang ganda, ang ganda. I'm hoping siguro one day gagawan ng Ghibli Studios version yan, because I think really perfect yan for Ghibli Studio. Again, by the way, I saw some people reacting kanina dun sa pinost natin na yung mga cartoon Ghibli Studio version natin. Of course, I completely understand the context of the anger and the context of, I would say, disappointment of creators, great creators, including the folks behind the Ghibli Studio. And yes, I completely agree. Now, when it comes to artificial intelligence, when it comes to ChatGPT, when it comes to all of these AI generated platforms and all, they need to pay. Kailangan nila bayaran, because actually, hindi lang yung mga tao na involved sa cartoons, pati kami sa media, yung mga sinusulat namin sa mga articles, whether may columns on New York Times or may columns on Philippine Daily Inquirer, whatever, yun ang ginagamit ng mga ChatGPT, OpenAI, and DeepSeek, most likely, and other platforms actually, also for giving you immediate answers. So actually, they have to pay all of us. Or at least pay the platforms, the original platforms where they source their information. So please, you don't have to tell me about intellectual property rights, because ako mismo, guys, kami mismo, we feel also exploited, right? Actually, if you, for instance, you go to ChatGPT and ask about me or my works, literally ChatGPT is going to draw from my own works to answer your questions, right? You can even, in fact, write like me on ChatGPT with 75, 80% almost accuracy. So yeah, and I'm not being paid or anything by ChatGPT for that. So literally, ChatGPT can get ideas from our works and all, and turn that into something that everyone can use. But anyways, while we're doing that, so ito yung pinost ko kanina, ito yung picture natin in Rockwell, actually the other week na pinost natin, and this is the Ghibli Studio version. I just found it like super innocent looking and all, and I think it reflects the kind of love and comfort we have. Mahal na mahal natin ng Pilipinas. I mean, I had fantastic almost 2 weeks from Roma to to Netherlands, and then up to Belgium and all. Europe is beautiful. I mean, I feel that we're lucky that we had people like Rizal, who at some point in history had the time, had the luxury, had the quiet, and at the same time the patriotic passion to write fantastic work in such beautiful cities. And kaya nga sabi ko, as much as you want to embrace also as much as guys you want to embrace itong uh, all the trolling and all of that, and yes, it's great for engagement and all of that. At the same time, I have to write books, guys. I am writing books, guys. I am writing journal articles. I am writing serious stuff, and that means I need focus. I need attention. I need a break sometimes, and I need to isolate myself. And sometimes it's gonna be very very difficult, very difficult. So please, rest assured, I'm not gonna overdo it, and I'm gonna try to make sure that I put aside some time not only for my own recovery but also to do some serious, deep writing, right? Deep work, right? Deep work. So that's where I was thinking at this Rizal, he was lucky that he was in a semi sleepy, beautiful, gorgeous town, and at the same time he didn't have all of these distractions of modern era, not to mention all of this constant 24/7 trolling and horrible things. I mean, like 100 death threats a day almost at sometimes we were getting, and thousands of really insulting comments, and you could see na dinaksan pa tayo dito sa comment sections na kung ano ng kabastusan ng mga DDS troll farms, and some of their unfortunate misinformed friends, or some would say useful idiots. But having said that, guys, sabi ko nga, there's a time for war and there's time for peace. There's a time for deep work and writing and isolating yourself. And, I try to do my literature, I try to do my writing and deep writing and all as much as I can. But there's a time also to be active and engage and fight the good fight. And nakita niyo naman yung ginawa natin sa Hague, di ba? In fact, hindi ko pa na-release yung edited version of 4K version. I have a 4K version na nakuha natin with our mobile kind of a 4K camera. You saw the live version, and the internet in Netherlands was not as good as I thought. But anyway, we're gonna release those versions whereby I walk from my hotel all the way to the detention center of Duterte, and in that 1 hour, 6 to 10 kilometer walk, you could see me reflecting on basically contemporary Philippine history. And then there's another one, I'm walking all the way to the International Criminal Court, and then I'm reflecting again how we arrive at this point, right? So this is a different way of doing things, right? It's not your typical documentary. It's not your typical production level discussion. It's not your typical me sitting down and doing explainers. Although, thank you so much for the millions of views of explainers we got dun sa medyo dark room version natin. I thank you guys for appreciating what we're doing. My explainer on the ICC case, my explainer on Duterte's drug war. I'm gonna release a new explainer also about Human Development Index, divisions between differences in terms of developmental gaps within the country. Lahat yan pag-usapan natin. And of course, we're hoping to also have some of the secretaries, relevant secretaries like Secretary Balisacan, and some of the great patriots like Commodore Tariela also on my podcast dun sa Dark Studio natin. So don't worry about it. And thank you so much for viewing, and for patronizing, and for recommending. We got millions of views for really, in my opinion, I think good quality explainers. Pinagtrabaho na, it took me some time. I had to write it down. I had to, I didn't do a retake naman. Almost like one take lang ginagawa ko. But the editing and all was hard. And I actually had to do a re-editing myself, third version of edit, fourth version of edit, additions, more sources, lahat yan. We had to do it. And I do it mostly myself, guys. Yes, I get help here and there, but that's like barely 2-3% of my entire output, right? Most of our output is basically our own work, right? So thank you so much, guys, and shout out of course dun kay John Marie, sa mga friends natin dyan, Doris, thank you so much for lahat ng mga kaibigan natin. Now, speaking of kaibigan natin ng mga DDS, again, I had an article, was it 4 years ago and all? In fact, I think even in Wikipedia it's mentioned now, something like 5 types of DDS supporters, right? And there I divide, it's based on kind of a political sociology of, right? So I'll show you the articles, guys. I'll post it right that. Okay. Dutertismo, 5 types of supporters. Ito yung sinulat natin in December 15, 2020. Sabi ko, it takes a village to raise a child. So says an African proverb, underlining how an individual can truly thrive only within the coordinates of collective life. In the same breath, power is sustained not through the sheer political will of a single man alone, but via dynamic network support that cuts across the fabric of society. And this is precisely how one should understand the enduring base of political support for consummate populists, such as, of course, Rodrigo Duterte, right? So yun yung tinignan natin. So there, in that article, guys, I look at different types of people who supported Duterte. So among the most um, okay. So less charitable critics have employed more disdainful appellations for the DDS so-called diehard Duterte supporters, including such politically incorrect terms as Duterte, even more harshly, tabogos. So yun yung mga ginamit ng mga kalaban nila, right? Some of them pompously cite the Philippines ranking at the near bottom of indices such as the Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study to explain away yung bakit may ganitong grupo. I don't like that. Yung basically, it's a very elitist way of looking at it, and it's very kind of a we discussed that the myth of Bobotante. Hindi totoo na may Bobotante. That's not true. That's fake. Others point at the Philippines' poor rankings in global surveys such as the Misperceptions Index, supposedly reflecting the prevalence of the Dunning-Kruger effect. So ito yung psychological phenomenon kung saan ang mga tao, the less they know about something, the more they're certain about it, right? Napansin mo, yung mga pinakasigurado sa isang bagay, yung mga walang alam masyado. Hindi, ganun yan talaga ito. Tapos yung mga tao na sobrang pinag-aralan nila, may postdoctoral sa isang issue na yan, actually, they never give you unambiguous answers. They always say, we need more research, this is this and this and this and that. So, some people will look at the Dunning-Kruger effect. A more subtle version, meanwhile, overemphasizes online disinformation at the expense of voters' agency. Again, I do believe we have a serious problem with disinformation. We are a victim ourselves of disinformation, how they twisted and took out of context my explanation on the Human Development Index within the 30 seconds I had, among other factors to explain Duterte's enduring support in certain regions of the country. But guys, surely we have a long way to go in nurturing a culture of critical thinking. Yes, lahat tayo. We desperately need to revamp our educational institutions. Given na yan. I'm not denying that. But the problem with elitist so-called Bobotante argumentation is that critics conveniently forget how millions sa ating mga kababayan. I also voted for progressive candidates from Mayor Vico Soto to Vice President Leni Robredo, and not to mention also Pinoy and other reformist presidents in the past. And lest we forget, Mr. Duterte also barely got a third of the votes among yung ating masses. If you look at the exit poll in 2016, Duterte's was just above 30%, for instance, in class D and I think slightly higher in E, but definitely in D, for instance. So in fact, it was the middle class, A, B, C, but mostly C, that has been the most enthusiastic about the president's populist and anti-crime agenda, as reflected in exit polls, quarterly surveys, and spirited public discussions. Kaya sabi ko, hindi pwede yung elitist na point of view, because actually mas maraming pa yung mga middle class na bumoto kay Digong as a share of their demographic. So obviously, maliit yung middle class natin, but as a share of that demographic, mas maraki ng share ng middle class ay bumoto kay Digong kaysa yung mga kapatid natin na masa among others, right? So what you're looking at is that actually very elitist and problematic. Yung sinasabi ng ibang tao na this is a class thing, this is an education thing, even as I agree na meron talaga tayong problema when it comes to nurturing critical education for all of us. The psychoanalyst Carl Jung once argued, we cannot change anything unless we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. So you need understanding and you need analysis, right? Thus, we need to carefully examine, devoid of prejudice and snobbery, the heterogeneity of Mr. Duterte's support base to truly understand the state of our politics. Kaya mo or this, you're a troll, you're done, boom, out forever. Indeed, there are diehard supporters of the former mayor and former president, and there are a lot of folks who support him all the way because they truly believe in what he has fought for. They truly believe in whatever he says. They truly believe in his great intentions or supposedly good intentions. There is that group. And let's just say this is the core group. And some of them really go back decades, since Duterte first became vice mayor and then mayor, and then essentially the long-term supremo of Davao before running for president of the Philippines, right? I don't want to even bother to talk about his time in Congress because he himself admitted wala siyang ginawa masyado. But anyway, and then there are other people na actually mga politicos na sinakyan lang yung Duterte wave, right? Biglang Liberal Party kahapon, biglang PDP Laban bukas, right? PDP Laban only had like 3 members in the Congress before Duterte became the president, and then next thing you know, there are like 300 people who are either in partnership or alliance with, or some of them even members of the PDP Laban, right? And then, of course, there's some people who joined the Duterte administration from a much more technocratic and some would even say patriotic point of view. So, for instance, you had technocrats like Carl Chua, a former World Bank economist, who actually joined NEDA eventually as secretary and formerly was the chief economist at the Department of Finance. There are many other people also, that, sincere patriots like the Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, who also joined the Duterte cabinet, not because he supports everything Duterte says and Duterte does, but because he felt he could make a lot of contribution to the Philippines' national interest, and he did. I know for a fact, personally, I know for a fact that there were many times that Duterte was going to do crazy things in the West Philippine Sea, saying crazy things in the West Philippine Sea, and on the way to doing some crazy things in the West Philippine Sea. But Lorenzana came and basically made sure na we held the line, right? We held the line. So that's something very important to keep in mind, guys. And then, lastly, there are also a lot of our kababayan, let's just call them the silent majority, who went along and said, maybe this is it. Maybe ito talagang kailangan natin leader at this point in time. And of course, in a climate of fear, there's what I call survival bias. Meaning, well, kung 7 out of 10 Filipinos ay takot na ma-EJK, kung sinasabi ng survey na popular itong presidente na to, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, a lot of people are just gonna rationalize it to themselves that ito na talagang best president na meron tayo and this is how we should move forward, etc. So what do we do now? So what happens now, guys, is that first of all, you have to realize that hindi homogeneous yung support base ni Digong. Yung so-called DDS is not just like one homogeneous group. It is not. It's actually a very, very diverse group, right? You have people na talagang solid supporters from day one. You have people na nakisakay lang and Harry Roque. Anong sinabi ulit ni Harry Roque back in the day? Let's not forget, Oh, I forgot to say, there were also the opportunists who just tried to ride it. Well, minensyon ko naman yung mga politiko pero meron yung mga hindi politiko pero opportunista din at sinakyan nila. Yan. Pero natin pag-usapan, asan ba si Harry, di ba? So, first of all, it's hindi sila monolithic. Not all of them think along exactly the same access, and not all of them truly 100% believe in really what Duterte stands for. So, it is really a question of diversity, right? Diversity, right? And then there are people, as I said, patriots, technocrats who were there, and then there's the silent majority who kind of eventually went with the flow, right? Went with the flow. So you have to really make those kinds of distinctions, guys, when you look at the DDS folks. So ako, personally, napansin ko also, there are also many people who supported Duterte back in the day who genuinely just wanted radical change because pagod na pagod sila sa kapalpakan ng ating mga politiko, sa kakulangan ng ating demokrasya, sa mga kahinaan ng ating mga institusyon. So many people actually had very good patriotic and loving intentions for the country, right? At sumali sila doon, di ba? So that is why your response should be first, you recognize na hindi pare-paras lahat ng mga Duterte supporters in terms of intentions, in terms of history, in terms of interest, right? And in terms of actually familiarity with what were the facts on the ground. So I would say someone who worked inside the Duterte administration probably knew way more about the actual operations of Duterte than someone, I don't know, living 10,000 miles away and just watching, I don't know, Maharlika or watching whatever, right? The other thing we have to keep in mind is there will always be 5 to 10% of our population that will want someone like Duterte to be a president. Maybe it's not Rodrigo Duterte, maybe it's not Sara Duterte, it could be someone else, right? It could be even a populist like, I don't know, Ben Tulfo maybe one day. And these are the same people that at some point were also very supportive of, say, a populist like Erap Estrada. These are people who, would believe in a kind of a strongman leader and maybe supportive of the Marcoses through and through. So there's always going to be that 10 to 15% of the population, guys. And we see that in the Pew survey, for instance. If you look at the Pew survey, for instance, kitang-kita natin na there is that 10 to 15% of our population na naniwala talaga na ang kailangan ng Pilipinas is a kind of a strong leader who doesn't have to bother with institutional checks and balances, right? And this section of our society, guys, wala silang, hindi ito usapin ng edukasyon or degree or anything like that. It's just a question of ideological mooring, or temperamental inclination. I just want to try to bring out the survey so that you can see it yourself. Ito. I've been writing about this for a long time, and of course, inspired din tayo with works of Dr. Walden Belli, who look at the case, for instance, of Chile back in the day, right? So, um, just want to bring out, okay, ito. So, for instance, ito. This is a very important survey. I showed this in the past, but I'll show this again. So, if you look at this survey, for instance, I'll post it sa baba. Yung nakikita niyo yung blue, yun yung portion ng population na 100% more or less naniwala na ang kailangan po natin is liberal democracy, checks and balances, separation of powers, basically traditional understanding of liberal democracy. And then yung yellow, which is a very huge part, is the silent majority that can go in either direction. And then that smaller gray portion, which is actually smaller in the case of the Philippines than the blue section. So the blue section is, let's call it like more or less like more pink, more yellow, more moderate liberal democratic, right? And then that gray zone is, it could be a base of Duterte, it could be the base of, Marcos, base, or Marcos Sr. at least. Ito yung mga tao na wala na we really need a strong man who just dispenses with any even pretension to liberal democracy or anything like that, right? But the one that matters is actually the yellow one. If you look at the yellow one, that is the majority in most of these countries. In the Philippines, is 67%. Indonesia is 75%. India is also 67%. Although mas maraming undecided in India. And then in Australia, it's 48%. In South Korea, it's 47%. In Japan, it's 51%. US is 46%. In Britain, it's 47%. Now, interesting, if you look at it, even in some of the more developed flagship democracies, so 10% in Britain, 7% in US, 13% in Japan, 13% in South Korea, 7% in Australia, 9% in India, believe that you may need a kind of a strongman leader or kind of a more alt-right populist kind of leadership. So that's why you saw Brexit, you saw Trump, and sometimes even more conservative or more right-wing versions of the LDP, right? In the Philippines, again, 12%, basically, okay sila sa strongman leadership. 15% gusto nila fully representative democracy with checks and balances, but 67%, guys, ay bukas, right? Bukas sa basically anything that works. Anything that works. So, this is what I'm saying, guys. What we're fighting really over is not that 12% or with margin of error 3 to 5%. Wala na yan. Although, you never know, right? But it's at 67%. And I can see that even in my comments and all, na marami dyan sa 67% na yan ay bumoto kay Digong noong 2016 at ngayon namulat na. Meron din yung mga bumoto kay BBM and Unity noong 2022, ngayon namulat na. Right? They're not necessarily your 15% who truly believe in liberal democracy and all, but they're willing to give liberal democratic ideas, progressive ideas a second chance. They're willing to give someone like Rizal and AI a second chance. Maybe even Lenny a second chance. Maybe Kiko and Bam in this election second chance. Or new rising stars like Commissioner Mendoza a second chance. And who knows who, right? So, yun ang pong labanan natin, yung 67% na yan eh. Right? That is the silent majority that can swing in different ways. In fact, there's a fantastic book I suggest to you guys to check. This is by an Australian political scientist. The term she used is democratic ambivalence. I separately came up with the term ideological ambivalence. So this is the 67%, right? This is by Adel Webb. It's a fantastic work, Chasing Freedom, the Philippines' Long Journey to Democratic Ambivalence. So you can check this out. It also looks at why the Filipino middle class are supportive of Rodrigo Duterte, among others. So it's an interesting work, but we were writing on these things quite earlier, and my idea was actually more along the lines of ideological ambivalence rather than democratic ambivalence. But it's a fantastic book that I guys used to suggest. So the title is Chasing Freedom, right? So it looks at the fact that actually majority sa ating mga kaubayan ay bukas sa either authoritarian leader or actually much more progressive or liberal leader, but dapat these leaders prove to them na may kapasidad sila, na decisive sila, na that they can get things done. So, how is this relevant to what we're doing here? This is relevant to what we're doing is because I am always concerned about that 67%. How do we win over that 67%? Parang tanggap ko na talaga na unfortunately there's going to be a section of our society who will never agree with us no matter what we do. No matter whatever facts I show, ito yung mga nasa gray area here. They'll never agree with us. But Speaking of that, I'm still willing to shake hands and talk to them and have a nice conversation. Pero siguro mukhang medyo malayo ng point of view natin in terms of common understanding is gonna be much harder. Pero yung 67% na yan, kayang-kaya yan. Because as Adele Webb correctly pointed out, majority sa ating mga kabayan are actually very ideologically ambivalent, right? There's also this fantastic journal article and review that also looks at her study. But these are the things that I also covered in my own works throughout the years. So in short, guys, may pag-asa. May pag-asa talaga tayo. Ang laki ng pag-asa. And I can see that in our numbers and analytics, in our comments. It's not only in the books I read and write. Right? Sinulat ko na yung mga issue na yun sa libro natin about the rise of Duterte. Right? Sinulat na natin yan sa mga book chapters natin and mga others that you can just Google and check online. Right? Although, of course, these are academic works, so you might need to purchase them. But I think some of them, at least snippets, are available for free. So, the data supports it. The studies support it. In short, may pag-asa ang Pilipinas, guys. Magpag-asa yung ating bayan if tuloy-tuloy itong laban natin. And we have to accept talaga, unfortunately, there will always be this minority, and in this case, shrinking minority, who will always pipilitin nila na tama yung kahit mali. Right? Kahit ang daming nangyaring kababalagan ng panahon ni Marcos Sr. dictatorship, pipilitin nila na golden era yan. Kahit ang daming nangyaring kababalagan panahon ni Digong, pipilitin na, okay. But I'm concerned about that 67%, 70% basically of our population. 2/3 almost of our population who are willing to support any leader that they believe is going to be decisive, is going to be active, and who's going to get things done. Kaya nga, more than good governance and bait-bait and pakyut-pakyut, ang kailangan po natin is decisive leadership. Decisive leadership. Kaya nga daming natutuwa kay Rizal and AI, kaya daming natutuwa kay Vico Soto, right? Vic Soto, sorry. Vic Soto ako na Vico Soto. Pero sabi ni Vico Soto kasi maging presidente yung anak niya, para bata po. But, do you get what I'm saying? So, yung issue ng good governance and yung mabait and all of that, it doesn't have as much appeal anymore. Mas nakikita natin sa studies yan, nang nag-appeal sa mga voters nowadays is yung decisiveness. Kaya kahit katulad ni Rizal Ontiveros na parang tingin sa kanya, aktivista, masyadong leftist, ganyan. Even siya, marami nagmamahal sa kanya kasi nakita nilang palaban siya. And should get things done. So, that's what I'm saying, guys. The fight here is for the hearts and minds of the vast majority ng ating mga kababayan na bukas sa isang mensahe kung saan hindi ka lang papakyut, hindi sa isang mensahe na nagmamalinis ka lang or nagdidisente ka lang. No, bukas sila sa isang mensahe carried by someone who they believe is decisive and palaban. Kaya in my own little way dito sa ating platform, so I'm showing that ako mismo, I walk the talk. I talk about kailangan palaban yung leaders natin. Well, guess what? Palaban din tayo dito sa ginagawa natin. Despite getting all of those death threats and attacks and trolls and all, go lang tayo ng go. Right? 24 live vlogs na tayo over the past 2 weeks or so. Despite everything, all of the crazy brouhaha and misinformation, disinformation attack. So, I walk the talk. When I advise our leaders to step it up and to be more proactive, to be more decisive, I show it in my own way. Now, siguro, ng iba sabi na, si Richard, medyo arrogante, medyo ganun. But guys, put aside all of that nonsense. The fact of the matter is that dapat palaban ka. Dapat hindi ka magpa-intimidate. Dapat tuloy-tuloy lang laban. In face of, incoming waves, be that jutting rock that reduces it into a sea of foam. Right? Yan, I think that's the more correct, almost verbatim from meditations of Marcus Aurelius, right? That's what we have to be. And yun ang hanap ng tao. That 67% plus that 15% could be on the good side. But we have to win them over. And you're not gonna win them over by saying walang pag-asa yung bansa natin or by saying na, lahat yan, ganyan. No. At the same time, you cannot just win over that 67% by tired, hackneyed, cliche, pakyut, hapyaw-hapyaw na liberalism, yung mga ganyan, mga padisente. Hindi nagagana yan. Laos na yan. It's time to move on. Time to move forward. Alright? Yun po yung sinasabi natin. So on that note, thank you so much, guys. Fantastic, really discussions over the past weeks or so. I'm just going through comment sections. It's insane. I mean, medyo Facebook, unfortunately, dahil ang daming trolls na naghahanap buhay, medyo na minsan I had to sometimes close the comment section para lang hindi babastusin yung mga ibang mga followers natin because I want it to be a safe space. But on YouTube, my goodness, almost we have a perfect safe space on YouTube. perfect safe space sa Spotify and other platforms natin. Even on TikTok, actually, it's not as bad as I thought. So, yes, on Facebook, unfortunately, medyo grabe yung mga death threats and attacks and insults and trolling. You could see it in live feeds and some of the posts we had. Pero ako, wala akong pake, go, go, go lang tayo. Inasar ko pa nga sila. Thank you for engagement. 70 million views na tayo this month. No problem. Thank you. Go ahead. But on YouTube, I'm seeing a lot of safe space there. So much so, nakikita natin na marami sa ating kababayan feel so comfortable. They feel so close to us at an effective level, at an intellectual level that ngayon, nag-open up sila. Sinasabi nila, dati bumoto sila kay Digong, pero namulat sila. Sinasabi nila, dati naiwala sila kay ganito, ganyan, X, Y, and Z na mga fake news peddler. Ngayon, naiwala na sila sa atin dahil nakita nila, vindicated tayo, tama tayo. So I really appreciate, guys. Thank you so much. Those messages really count. In addition to, of course, you guys also joining us at the price of an espresso sa ating little community on YouTube. No, I really appreciate that. So thank you so much, guys, for all of the love and support of the past 3 weeks or so. You made us that jutting rock that reduced all of these waves of trolling and disinformation and misinformation into a sea foam. Thank you so much for giving us that strength. Thank you so much for being the building blocks of itong maliit na adhikayan at saka maliit na kilusan na meron tayo. And of course, as always, more than happy to collaborate with other like-minded leaders, like-minded podcasters, like-minded thought leaders. Dahil naiwala tayo na never rely on a single person. Every time we relied on a single person to save us, whether it's Digong, whether it's whatever, it always went downhill. Or worse. We should rely on a grassroots movement. We should rely on a movement of many people believing in a single cause, and we should rely on each other, guys, in each other's goodwill. And as I said, even dun sa mga very passionate supporters of President Duterte, I was more than happy to reach out, to extend the olive branch, to extend my hand in peace, to even hug them, talk to them, even make greetings. Shout out sa mga kaibigan natin sa Malta. One day, hopefully, once the emotions are a little bit more settled on all sides, more than happy to interact and even have a meeting with our good friends, even though they may be supporters of Duterte and may have views that are quite different from mine. Well, okay lang sa akin yan. Okay lang sa akin yan. Lahat naman tayo, mahal natin ang bayan natin. Lahat naman tayo nagko-contribute, yung mga OFW ng kababayan natin. Hard-earned money they're sending back. Tayo dito, we're contributing to our nation building. So let's make this work together. And in the meantime, eye on the ball. That's 67% we have to win them over. That ambivalent, silent majority that Adel Webb discussed in her book Chasing Freedom, that's the demographic that we have to win over. And looking at these comment sections, looking at our analytics, kitang-kita natin yan, guys. Kitang-kita natin yan, guys. So, yeah, I see all of itong asaran, yung nakita ko yung mga iba nagpo-post about yung mga kinulong or yung mga ibang kababayan natin na nag-rally in support of Duterte. You know, I don't want to go into Schadenfreude. Alam mo, marami sa ating mga kababayan na OFWs ay genuinely they love Duterte. Even though unfortunately it's not based on a proper understanding of the context or actually a factual understanding of the man and his legacy, but sincere po yung pagmamahal nila sa ating bayan, sincere po yung pagmamahal nila sa atin at yung pagmamahal nila para sa development ng ating bayan. So sana tuloy-tuloy lang tayo, guys, in our engagements, in our discussions, and please continue to pray for us. Your prayers are very important. It gives us strength. It gives us a sense of almost satyagraha, you know, like the idea of truth force, as Mohandes Mahatma Gandhi would put it. It's very important. It's very important. Well, hindi tayo big person, big personality, it's okay. But if in our own little way we can show the way forward, then one day hopefully there will be a movement way bigger than us and there will be people way better than us who will carry the torch forward. Maraming salamat for a lovely week, for lovely discussions, for your lovely comments and suggestions. And please feel free to message us. I got too many death threats and attacks and all of that online, but I don't mind. I still read and all of that because once in a while you see actually very good messages and silent supporters and well-wishers from Davao, from Cagayan de Oro, from across Mindanao. Thank you so much for those lovely support and all of that. And please continue to also join our little community on YouTube, Richard Hidaran Vlogs, and also please continue to support us on Spotify para tuloy-tuloy yung positioning natin as the leading political podcast in the country. Consistently top 40, top 50 tayo, but we have to get back into top 5, right? And who knows, maybe at least top 3. We did top 5 already last year at some point. We want to be top 3 in Spotify. And also, of course, good news, later this March pa pala. Later, next month, God willing, we're gonna be rejoined by, eto na, mga kaibigan natin from the world of entertainment, mga Cool Pals. So abangan nyo, Cool Pals fit R&R. Ronaldo, Ricardo joining the Cool Pals. Right? Abangan yan. A lot of fascinating things to discuss. Thank you guys. Thank you, Lord, and thank you for your continued love and support for our country. Salamat po. God bless. Thank you po. Thank you so much, guys. Don't forget, join us dun sa little community natin, alright? Ano lang, Nespresso lang yan, pick up coffee lang yan, and you will show all your love and support. But most important, yung prayers and love nyo and comments nyo and heartfelt messages nyo, sobrang appreciate natin yan. God bless. Have a lovely weekend and a blessed Sabbath day tomorrow.